Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Nerd Herd Comic Book Club, your number one stop for stellar reviews of volumes, arcs, or stories that us or yourselves choose. You can find us live every Wednesday on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch, and the replay on all podcast networks. Take a seat, get yourselves and your opinions ready, as it's time to join the herd. But first, please put your hands together for your hosts, Shane, Phil, and Scott, as they kick off this week's discussion.
Ahoy hoy everyone, and welcome to the Nerd Herd Comic Book Club. I am once again the host. I am Shane, aka Dawn of Comics, and I'm joined as always by my co-host up here, Phil, from Phil's Nerdyverse.
Ahoy hoy.
And Scott from Scott... Oh, no, sorry, not Scott from Scott's Shelf. This is Kevin, our viewer from last week, who picked what we're reading this week, which is The Crow from... was this IDW?
Calibre or something?
My bad, sorry, from Calibre Comics from 1989, I want to say.
Mm-hmm. It's one of those ones that was published by so many different publishers.
Yes, and I think the copy I read was like 92 or 93, so I was getting a bit thrown with the times and that it was actually printed. But it was created, written, and drawn by Jason O'Barr. Trifecta. Did all three.
James O'Barr.
James O'Barr. What did I say?
Jason.
Sorry, Jason's one of my favourite names. James O'Barr. I can't even edit it out. It's not even like one of my quizzes where I can just edit out every time I fluff up. Whoops. But Kevin, yes, thank you for picking this for us.
I apologise for such a heavy book.
We will get into that. We did all read it. Scott read it as well. We have his thoughts on the art, the story, and of course his final thoughts, which we will get to throughout this. But before we jump in to the book and to the synopsis, Kevin, do you have a synopsis for this book?
Yeah.
Before we jump into that, just wanted to make sure you did have one, because otherwise I would have to do it, and I didn't want to. Okay. We are going to say hello to that.
Right.
We have Wednesday's spoiler. Hello, thanks for joining. Is that first time in the chat for Wednesday spoiler? I don't recall that name popping up.
Last week towards the end, first time.
Ah, okay. Thank you for popping back again. We have the Funky Gibbons, Heidi Ho. Connie, as always, hi. We have Fuzzy Dunlop. Watcher, good evening. Thank you for joining. We have Peter Thornton. Hi, everyone. Thank you again for joining. And we have Blue Sonic as well. Evening all. Thank you, Martin, for joining. I hope if everyone's read the book, I hope you have, because I think this is probably a book everyone should read at some point. But let's get into the synopsis for The Crow.
The synopsis is kind of a basic story. It's a classic revenge tale. Eric and his girlfriend, so the trigger warning. Eric and his girlfriend are...
yes, trigger warning for this, as there are a lot of adult themes throughout this book. So if you are easily offended, you might want to stop watching now, as this can get quite heavy, this book, and we will get into it.
So, yeah. I don't know why I'm smiling whilst I'm saying this. Eric and his girlfriend, Shelley, are murdered. And Eric comes back to life, guided by a magical crow, to get revenge on the killers. And that's basically the plot of the story. A backstory to it. James O'Barr, when he wrote this story, he kind of wrote it to get over the death of his own girlfriend, his own fiancee, who had been killed by a drunk driver. And that's the story. So I feel this book's kind of there's a lot of anger and a lot of sorrow in these pages. I'm going to do my art student thing and kind of do a little analysis and stuff. But yeah, it's that's the story behind it, and that's The Crow, a revenge tale. Pretty sad one, to be fair, but yeah, Sorry, I'm not great. We're not great with synopsis.
It,
was
no,
perfect.
that pretty much sums it up. It does. Just want to say hi to Dean. Dean's joined us. Thank you, Dean. Hope you're doing well. It is a very basic story done really well. I mean, everything can be brought down to its basics, can't it? And this story is basically a group of people kill a boyfriend and girlfriend, or fiancés at this point, and he comes back to life to get revenge. And sometimes that's all you need for a really good book, if you can tell the story right. If you can tell the story well, and if you can tell the story coherently, then it can be done really, really well. We'll get into if we thought that was done well as we go on. But Phil, what did you think? This is your first time reading this?
Yeah, first time reading it. There was definite parallels to Sandman in a way, and I think the kind of character design of Eric and the crew, I think, was taken from Sandman. I think. No, is it the other way around?
No. It's he started this book in like 1984, and the influences are from like Susie and the Banshees, like pop, like some punk bands, and Iggy Pop is one of the main influences for the design of the character as well. So yeah, there's a lot of
interesting. It does look like Death from the Sandman stories,
and she was based on him, Susie and the Banshees as well. I think her design was as well. I'm not sure.
That kind of throws my point out the window, because what I was going to say pretty much was, we read that maybe a year or so ago, or just under a year, and we all enjoyed it. But even though this is very grim and very dark, and it touches on death and sorrow more than Sandman did, like, I enjoyed this more than Sandman. And so yeah, like Blue Sonics are saying it's a Sandman vibe. I'll take that. I mean, it'll be based on Sandman, but it's the same vibe as Sandman. That's good enough for me. So yeah, like, again, very basic, like we're saying, it's just come back from the dead, kills the people responsible for killing him and his partner, and then that's it. But it obviously touches on so much different stuff, like with death, and there's like even all the poetry and all the kind of the sayings from I forget the prayer that kind of they say throughout the book as well. And this could be quite a dark book if you're in a dark place. I think you almost need to be in an okay place to kind of read this.
Absolutely. 100%. If you were at a low point and you started to read this, it would just bring you right down even further. It is, as much as he does kill them all, which is great. Yay for killing bad guys. I'm all for that. It is still very, very sad throughout the entire book. Even as he's working his way through them, you can just see how broken he is. He's just, it's so sad to see as he keeps remembering his girlfriend, and they have those, like, the panels when he's remembering her are gorgeous. It's like just done with a pencil. It's just a sketch, because it's kind of like maybe his memory's fading a little bit, so he can't fill in everything. And it's done so well. And even at the end, you don't feel like he won, because he didn't, did he? And you do still end up feeling kind of down at the end of the book.
I was going to say, he doesn't get any satisfaction from what he's doing at all. And yeah, on the reread, I noticed it a lot more, that it's but it still hasn't brought her back or stopped that had happened to him. It's just maybe the streets are a little cleaner without having those guys on the streets anymore. But yeah,
like those guys who had terrible names, by the way, like their gang. It was a Tintin, T-Dog, and Dum Dum. Yeah, Fun Boy. It's just get
those
some better names.
Gangster names. That's proper gangster.
What's wrong with Jeff? It's like a normal name. Why does it have to be like Fun Boy?
My name is Jeff.
It's just, I don't know. It's just, but it kind of reminded me of like if I remember, like Dark Knight Returns, for example, I've heard this a few times now, but some of the kind of language that the gangs use, like, you know, home slice and dice, and the guy was getting that kind of like vibe from that as well, like this very 80s, like the kind of way they talk and stuff. And maybe because obviously us being British and stuff, we don't really relate to that kind of language because that's 80s USA type of thing. So, but it didn't like irk me or anything. It didn't kind of confuse me. It was just like, it was just there. It was fine. But yeah, the gangsters were all pretty useless, but also quite. It did look quite menacing looking. You know, if I was to like, turn the wrong corner and see that gang sitting there, I'd be like, "Ooh, just get away quick."
Oh yeah, I mean they were every single 80s gang from every movie you've ever watched set in the 80s. They looked
Yeah.
interchange any gang from any 80s movie and it was them. From the glasses they wore to the torn vest tops to the leather jacket, you know, so stereotypical, but I mean it fit the story, didn't it? Can we just say hello to Jack Talks Comics? He didn't know what time it was. We have watches and phones and computers. Time is, it tells you everywhere. Look on the microwave, it tells you there as well.
It's nerd out time. Look at your VCR. It never has the right time, to be fair.
But thank you for joining. Connie says she really liked the art in the book. Really gritty and dark. It's honestly one of those books where there's no happy ending for anyone. And there isn't. Although kind of maybe for the poor little girl. Was it Shelley?
Oh, yeah.
When
Yeah,
he sends
Sherry,
the good police officer to go look after her, he's like, there's the girl, she's here, she needs you to look after her. So maybe like he's helped to give her a better life.
Yeah,
So
that was in the
maybe-
movie too, wasn't it? If I'm right in thinking.
Yeah, because
Yes.
in the movie, because I am going to refer to the movie quite a lot because I love the movie. Who doesn't love the movie? But the mother in the movie, doesn't he like grab her and then all the drugs come out of her arm, like through the track marks?
Yeah,
And
because
he,
you
like,
have a scene
it
with
out
her
of her.
afterwards, don't you, as well? Like she's trying to be a good mum in a scene afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think they added that for the movie, but I kind of got the same vibes from this because he's like, you need to be a good mother, you know, go, and he like sends her on her way when he's dealing with Funboy.
Yeah, I'm going to say I do love that scene. I love that in the film and in this, where he's like, mother is the name for God on the lips of every child. I was like, oh yeah, because I guess as a kid, your mum is like your God, isn't she?
I had actually taken note of that saying in the book as well, because I thought it stood out quite a lot. What I find weird as well, in terms of like, I've watched the movie and I remember enjoying the movie, but I feel like I want to watch it tonight after this, just to kind of, after reading this, kind of, you know, rewatch it, whatever, just because what's in the mindset or whatever. But I don't remember. I've lost my train of thought. What was I saying? Yes, this is what I was saying. Sorry. So basically, like, the book is really dark and grim. It's kind of James O'Barr's stories, obviously dark and grim with what happened to his fiancee. And even the movie is clouded with, like, obviously the death of Brandon Lee. It's almost as if, like, this book and this title kind of talking about death and so on, like, it's almost like it's cursed in a way, you know? It's like, everything just seems like a dark clouds over it the whole way through, even with the movie. And I don't recall a TV show or anything like that there. And I think they're remaking the movie. But I think, like, without that kind of dark story or something, I don't think it'll ever hit the same with the public.
No, you wouldn't be able to get away with it today. Like, I mean, the movie's very graphic. So if you tried to make that like a PG-13, you know, like...
Which you know they will do.
Yeah, they will do because they want the money. But it wouldn't work because it wouldn't have that impact. I mean, yeah, it's still going to be sad if you see him and his girlfriend, you know, get shot by some gang members. But I don't know, it needed that... You know, when he's lying there and he's got the 2 bullets in his head and the crow is just telling him, don't look. And it's like, that gets you right there. You know, like, it's like he's trying to just give him his last few moments on Earth just as a little bit of peace. Just don't look. But he can't, because he can't move. He can't do anything. You know, and that impacts the reader. Whereas if it's just he takes 2 bullets in the head, his girlfriend takes a bullet, it's like, yeah, he's come back for vengeance. It's going to be a fun romp, but it's not going to have the same impact, is it?
Yeah, that's true. The punishment fits the crime. I think that it justifies when we talk about what happened, if we go into detail about it. But with his partner, with his fiance, and with him when they were shot, it was just brutal. It wasn't just the shooting and then carried on.
Scary.
It was scary, yeah, and you think at the end, oh, you know what? He's kind of justified in the way he goes around killing. Getting his revenge. Yeah.
There's no question all those gang members deserve what they got. Like I say, if this was like in the movie, this is a movie again. Like he's the hero. He is a hero, but obviously he just kills people.
Yeah.
That cuts their heads off, cuts their feet off, and stuff. Bonkers. But yeah, he's the hero. But there's a question I want to ask Kev, actually, because obviously you picked the book and you are an artist yourself. Like the art changed a lot. Like we had the kind of comic book art, then we had some really nice like sketch pages, and we had some other lovely kind of more grayscale kind of, I don't know how to describe it. But it's almost like 3 or 4 different stages or types of art throughout the whole book. But I think some pages were added later on in the graphic novel, so I'm not sure what.
Yeah, so when the book was made, he kind of created it without the intention of ever being published or anything, so it kind of sat on the shelf. So I think he started it in like 1983. So if you look at the beginning of the book, I think the art, you can see it's good, but compared to what it becomes, it's quite amateurish for James O'Barr. He's a brilliant artist still, even with his his beginning works. But yeah, and they have added to the book. So the last chapter was done in 3 years after the 4th chapter. So again, that's why the artwork kind of shoots up in quality. If you like that kind of, I'm just looking through it now. Yeah, loads of screen tone that's been used, and poses like that. Where are we going? That's just brilliant. And the painting stuff, I really liked. I chose the painting page for my page. I really liked it. I think it adds to that dreamlike quality when he's remembering things.
But even though the art was different at stages, I can't think of any time the art was bad. Like you're saying, obviously it was more amateur and stuff, but it was never bad at all. I actually thought the art was fantastic. We've referred to some people before, like in recent weeks, like John Paul Leon comes to mind, where he has stuff in the background. This is a similar kind of idea that, if you recall, whenever that he went to the gang members' clubhouse or whatever it was, and on the table has all like the guns and the drugs and the money and like just things you don't have to put in. You don't have to draw these things as part of, like, we get you went to the gang, they're on a table, have like a beer and a gun, that's fine, but you don't need everything else there. But the fact that he puts it in, I like that. I like that little bit of detail.
I like that. He doesn't use so it's kind of cartoonish shorthand when you see something. He's like, just a beer and something small to make us go. We know where we are, but he doesn't. There's a scene I think in the pawn shop, and it's only a small panel, but you can see everything on the shelves because he hasn't done the cartoonish shorthand. He hasn't just been like, oh well, no, it's a pawn shop. He's got I'll draw the whole thing. Yeah. It's brilliant. Yeah, I do love the artwork in this book, especially for a 80s indie book. I think there's something about them that I really enjoy, like Turtles as well, with their black and white drawings. Yeah. So,
well, let's get to the pages. Since we've talking about the art, we'll start with our guests page. You mentioned you picked this because of its.
Yes. Oh, I didn't mention why I picked it. Well, I like it because I think it's just a nice piece of art, really. It's kind of used this thing called German expressionism for the door. That's why it's kind of wonky. And to me, like, this is me, like I said, I'm going to be an art student now. I go, it's kind of the door is crooked and it kind of is leading into a crooked memory. So if that's what we're supposed to read into it, that's what I read into it. And like, he knows there's some. he can see Shelley, but if he goes through this crooked door, there's going to be something bad's going to happen. And as we read on through the pages, the memory gets tainted. So that's that's why I chose it. I thought,
Really deep. I just thought the tiles on the floor looked nice.
Yeah. See, art student.
Let's think. She and I would go like an art museum and go, yeah, like snakes and pretty, the colors are nice, but like you're sitting with deep thought. What this means? This means this and that. It's like, but yeah, like I agree with Shane.
Why didn't you
notice
take
the
the picture
tiles
straight?
Yeah.
Why do you hold the camera like that?
But this is the thing. The funny thing is, when I seen that page, I was like also thinking, "What those tiles look really good on the floor."
There's some
even
wood
like
paneling he paints later on, and the wood paneling looks like some of the best. I think it's like for chapter 5. Just like the intro for chapter 5 was like, oh, that's really good. Just wood and the bullets.
Yes, that's right. I recall that one. But the that page there, like, even like the shading and stuff, like it just like not knowing what techniques you use, but it just looks really cool. And the light, it's class.
Phil, how about your page?
Again, I like details. I like with art like this. I feel like I like a lot of stuff on it. And even the idea, like, I mean, it's a funny panel as well. We're just walking up the stairs and they're all like crowding behind the kind of like the banister there, and he just shoots through it. But it's just more like the action and the lines you kind of see and the shading and the details, and there's just so much in this page that I just think like that. I mean, I'm thinking it would take a few hours to do this, but it'd probably take a few days. You probably went back to it a couple of times, kept adding stuff to it. I don't know. I just the whole book for me was drawn wonderfully, and it was hard to pick one page, but I wanted to pick one with a lot of stuff on it, a lot of action.
Yeah, I had to whittle mine down. I had 4 pages I wanted to pick, but I went for, I think, the one that creeped me out the most, and it's not the creepiest image. It's just that he's staring at you. When you turn the page, he's looking right at you. Like, his eyes follow you in this picture. He's just sat there and he's just staring at you, the reader, and it's so creepy. But it's so well done. It's just him in shadow. There's just the light coming through the window. He's just sat on a chair with his hands on his lap. He looks like he should be innocent, but if you look at his eyes,
oh, sinister.
It's really, it's really sinister.
See, I'm just noticing now. See, maybe I'm reading too much into this, but is it trying to spell like a word out or something with the light reflecting on the floor? Is it trying to spell something out? Or am I just being silly?
I think that's just the patterns from the bars on the window.
It just, I don't know. I was thinking, is it just trying to say a word here? Does it mean something?
No.
See, this kind of book, I'm looking for a more deeper meaning into this, you know?
This is because of last week's book. There was a sound effect on every page.
Yeah.
And so you were distracted by random words everywhere, Phil.
That's what this book needed. This book needed some sound effects and pages.
I was going to say, you know what? Because last week I was looking through this, I was like, is there enough sound effects in this? And then I was like, oh, there's there we go, wonk.
Yeah, there are a few. There are a few. I noticed a few booms and stuff as well. Yeah.
I think we should hear from Scott, because we haven't heard from Scott yet, have we? We haven't seen his lovely face this week. Let's hear what he thought of the art, and we'll find out what his favourite page was.
Prepare for lag.
Yes, prepare for lag.
With you this week. Apologies. Well, not sorry, because I'm in Disneyland having a great time. So,
show off.
Sorry I'm not with you. Hi, Kevin. I hope you're having a great time so far on the show and that you enjoy the rest as well.
Taking your place.
And we're here to talk about the crew, and I'll start with the art, and it was cool. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think this is the first black and white story that we've read on the Nerd Herd. So it was quite cool, quite interesting, different way to look at things, I guess. And yeah, I noticed there were lots of different styles of art. In terms of, ones look really like pencil drawn, like charcoal type of stuff. Like there were a few like dot matrix looking pages going on as well, and I thought that would kind of put me off or kind of throw me off, but I felt okay with it, and I feel like each, depending on the panel and depending on the kind of style of that panel, like what art style was used, it was used on purpose to show the kind of vibe that James O'Barr was going for. That's what I felt like anyway, and I felt like whichever style he used to draw that panel in, it worked, it made sense, and I didn't think it was out of place. One thing I did struggle with at the very beginning was kind of the proportions of the faces. They looked a bit like overly squashed. Yeah, so that was the only thing I really struggled with, but everything else was just great to look at. There's so much detail going on. But I will say, because of the fact that it is in black and white, when there were a lot more busier pages, I had to spend some time to really try and figure out what was going on. Like, is that like, a bit of dust being kicked up? Is that a bit of blood? Is that a shot? Is that, you know what I mean? It was when they're busy, it's difficult, but when there's not a lot to look at, the detail and stuff in there is stunning. Really cool. I enjoyed the art a lot in this book. There's not really that much else to say. We can't really compliment the colours. The black was nice, and so was the white, and that was it. Let's go into my favourite page. Here it is. I don't want to try to like waffle about this, because I don't think I'm smart enough to even describe what I'm looking at and why it's been drawn that way. But as soon as I saw it, I was like, "Whoa, that's cool. That's my page." And I think what got me was the fact that, if you read the story, you know that his girlfriend has died, but you can just see her face is like a skeleton face. Yeah, I don't know why, it just kind of moved me a bit. Yeah, I'm gonna go with that. Yes, I don't really have that much else to say about the art, so I'll leave it at that. That's my favourite page. That's what I thought, and I will see you to let you know what I thought of the story. Bye.
That was a gorgeous page. I think the fact that she's wearing a wedding dress just makes it that much more heartfelt. Like she's in the dress that she was never going to get to wear in life. That was a great page.
Oh man, don't tell. Oh.
I didn't.
You just pointed the obvious. Yeah, when you think about it, it's so sad. The book is
so
shredded with sadness, to be honest. I agree with Scott with the faces, because the first page is like, or the first kind of page of the current story, because I had a few different sketches beforehand, and I had like the baldy gangster. And I was thinking, like, is there aliens in this book? Like, is there monsters? Is there goblins or something? Because he doesn't look human. He's a really odd shaped head. He has this kind of sweat dripping off him. It's like, what is this guy? And
it's very cartoony at the beginning, isn't it?
Yeah. And they all have really big eyes, I think. Especially Eric, or the Crow, or whatever we're calling him. He had like his eyes like really big compared to his face. But I don't think it didn't put me off or anything. It didn't. I didn't hate the art because of that. I actually think it added to the kind of overall story, because it's not perfect, but it's still wonderful.
When you read a black and white comic book and you wish to yourself, "I wish this was in color." I'm glad this isn't in color. I don't think I would like this in color. I don't think colors would work for this. I think the black and white
distracts too much from the story, and
I think it's perfect in just black and white. It's just so well. I get what Scott was saying. There are some pages that are really, really busy, and you do have to spend a little more time on them to try and figure out what's happening. But where's the problem in lingering on a page to enjoy the art, to figure out what's happening? That's a nice thing.
Yeah,
for me anyway.
Yeah, if you enjoy the artwork.
So we've covered the art. we all enjoyed the art, didn't we? So I think we should get to the story because we're halfway through the show. Look at that, halfway through. Scott took up most of the time. We'll blame Scott.
He likes to hear the sound of his own voice, that guy.
So, Kevin, what did you think of the
Mhm.
story?
Traumatic. I mean, I enjoyed the story, but I don't know. It's kind of like torture reading it as like not torture because it's bad. Just it's kind of. Oh, I don't even know how to describe it. I feel
makes you
sad now because
uncomfortable reading
the dress. I never even thought of the dress thing. But yeah, it's so. I think it's such a just a bleak story, very nihilistic kind of story. It's even you're not even really cheering for him to kill the bad guys. I don't think, because you see he gets no joy from it at the end. There's just
No.
It's just bleak, and I'm sorry that I put this on everyone.
No, if I'm being honest, it's one of those books that if it wasn't for the Nerd Herd and if it wasn't for you picking it, Kev, I would probably have never read this ever.
Connie
And
says
I'm
it's
glad.
traumatic.
Yeah, I'm glad I have read it. My only kind of issue is more my own issue because I usually read my books the Nerd Herd on a Monday. I couldn't read it on Monday, so I set aside some time today. Somebody told me it was a quick read, and it was fairly quick, but I didn't get the chance to linger over the pages, for example. I didn't really get a chance to kind of mull over what was happening because it's not read like your conventional kind of graphic novel. It's very like you had mentioned before, you didn't intend it to be a graphic novel. It was almost like you just put it all together as one. But you can kind of tell it's bitty, not in a bad way. It's just it's been put together a certain way, and all the stuff about like death and angel and what's the like, regret or no, not regret. What was the words they all used to describe each chapter? You had all these different words. Like I didn't really have the chance to kind of think about them in relation to the story in a way. That's my own fault for not having the time to do it, and that's why like I'll comfortably say now, even though this is grim and dark and traumatic, I will probably read this again fairly soon because I want to kind of take more out of it. I think it's the kind of thing that you will, I don't want to say enjoy, because like it's hard to enjoy, but do you know what I'm trying to say? It's like I think you'll get more out of it and soak in the story a second and third reread, and I kind of want to do that.
I was going to say this time I read it first time I read it, I was a single man. Now I've got a fiance, and reading it now, I'm like, oh God, I'll have to come back from the grave if this happens to us. I was like, God, that's terrible. Yeah, it's horrible when you think about it. When you think about what you got yourself to lose as well, and you put yourself in kind of that Eric's shoes, like makes it even more traumatic.
And this is the thing, the stark reality is like, even though this is a comic and it's a story, it's a storytelling at the end of the day. But humanity is this could easily happen. It probably has happened to many people in that same kind of manner. It happened, and we kind of spoke off air about talking about the pages where the gang killed Eric and his partner. And if you haven't read it, just close your ears if you're a bit sensitive. But basically, they killed her, and then they obviously sexually abuse her after her death, type of thing. And like this thing, it's so sick and grim. And it's like it shouldn't happen, but these things probably do happen. And like it's hard to imagine it and say enjoy this book when these things are happening.
This book is not meant to be enjoyed. This book is not. This is not a book that you enjoy reading. Not in a bad way. You don't read it to enjoy it. You read it to get something out of it, and what you get out of it is a love story. You get to see what someone is willing to do for love. Love that they will never get again, will never have again. It's love that they had once and is now gone forever. It's left this planet. It's left this plane, and you don't even know at the end, when he kills himself, if he's going to join her in the afterlife, because the acts that he's done where they okay in the eyes of up there, or should he have
See,
just
Yeah.
left it alone and just gone to be with her? You never get a definitive answer of what the ending of this story is.
Yeah, because you don't
This
know
is-
who sent the crow.
No,
If anyone sent
was
the
it
crow. Yeah.
was it an angel? Was it
Yeah.
a demon? You don't know. So
But this is the thing too, in terms of me wanting to think more about this book, because it references Jesus and God and angels and stuff, and even whenever he was saying God's going to be your judge or something, I can't remember the way he worded it. One of the bad guys or one of the gang members, when he killed him, like, your God's problem now or something, like, killed him, and people said, I'll see you in hell, but he never really responded to that, like, I won't be in hell type of thing. So you are right what you're saying, but I think with all the references and the kind of prayers and about Jesus Christ, I think maybe there's something more. What's the word? Like, divine is the right word. Like, in terms of, like, there's a higher power at play here, and maybe that's what he sent the crow or whatever, and
hopefully,
he is obviously in
Hopefully.
heaven with
Yeah.
his fiance. So
well, that's how I choose to finish the book. I choose to finish the book with him going to join his fiance. Job done. We can now be at peace for the rest of eternity. Like, he wouldn't have been at peace had he joined her at the start. He would have always had that nagging thing, like, those people are still walking the earth when you're not, and that's not right. So the fact that he got to go back and kill them all. I am a bit disappointed that we didn't see the promise of a slow, painful death for T-Bird. Like, we were promised that it was going to be slow and it was going to hurt, and we don't see it.
Yeah.
right.
He ran out of
I was
pages.
very disappointed. I was really disappointed. I at that point, I had travelled with Eric, and now I wanted his vengeance. I wanted to see a gruesome, painful death for T-Bird. And it was just
Now I'm
over.
thinking, is the whole idea of him being hounded down, all his other gang members being killed, like, I'm coming, there's nothing you can do to stop me. Would that be part of like a torturous death, like, to know that you are going to die, essentially? But you're right, you don't see. I mean, there's a guy who gets his feet cut off and he bleeds out and he's saying he's cold. My feet are
His
cold.
feet are cold. Can I have my
And he's like,
boots?
don't worry, it'll be okay in a minute. Like, there are some real grim deaths. Even the guy, is it Fun Boy, the one who he kind of likes and gives him a pain-free death? Essentially, they're giving him morphine overdose.
But I
Like-
didn't get that. Why he gave him a
I
painless
think
death.
he was the best ones as well. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I
a bit
don't
out of
understand why.
character.
Why did he get a painless death? Is it because he just helped him? Is that why? Like, he acknowledged that he played his part and he was almost
But he
sorry
didn't
for
care.
it.
No, he wasn't sorry. He said,
He wa-
I'm
nah.
not sorry.
But
He said, I
Yeah.
know I did.
admitted
I'm
it.
not sorry. He just acknowledged that he was broken. He was like, I'm a monster. He's like, I'm not sorry for what I did. I've done worse.
Maybe
but
that's
still
why he
gave
gave him a pain.
painless death.
Maybe because he's admitted he is a monster, and that's why it was pain free. Because essentially, like, from what I took from it as well, like, he was the one who kicked his fiancée because she was screaming. He didn't like the screaming, so maybe in a way, I don't think he contributed to the actual. He didn't shoot her, and he didn't abuse her in a way. So I'm wondering if, like, he kicked her in a way because he didn't want to hear the screams. Like, almost he was saddened by it himself in a way. I don't know. There's maybe probably not. He's still a monster.
I don't think a man like that has a soul that would care if someone was
No,
screaming.
I
No.
think that was.
I think he was just annoyed.
I think that's what was good about the villains. It's a very black and white tale. No pun intended. That is black and white, but it's very, we got a story where the bad guys, you can't sympathise with them. They're horrible, and that's, again, I guess that goes into. It's kind of like I guess it's a power fantasy for James O'Barr, because
100%.
aggression and that all built up from this drunk driver, and this is what he imagined he could do to that drunk driver. So that's why the bad guys there's no sympathy for them. They're just outright evil. So maybe then he was like the crows sent by like God to have get rid of these evil people. So maybe that's what I'm talking about. It was like, that could be it.
When you said, like, you can tell it was written by an angry person.
Yeah.
But it also not in. This is not. I'm not being. This is not nothing against the writer creator of the book. It feels very childlike as well in his vengeance. Like he is completely unstoppable. Nothing hurts him. They don't get the upper hand on him in a single scene. You know, he is just this steam train that just goes through them and doesn't have to fear anything. So it's very childlike in the innocence of that sort of thing for your character.
He does
You know?
inject himself with 2 syringes of heroin, or not heroin, of morphine. You know, so maybe that's
Doesn't do
he's just
anything.
geared up to.
Yeah, nothing hurts him. He gets shot in the neck, he gets shot in the chest. Like, it doesn't knock him down, it doesn't slow him down. So he is this unstoppable killing machine. And I think you can see it was written by someone who just wanted to kill bad people. It wasn't written by someone that wanted to tell a story where the good guys win in the end and the bad guys lose in the end, and you have to work your way through it. You know, you have something to overcome. Sometimes the bad guys will get the upper hand and then you have to work harder. No. There is just, you are unstoppable because you are in the right. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just very obvious in this book.
Yeah, I think obviously that James O'Barr was clearly in a dark place for a long time, you know, to be able to write this. And that, what you're saying in terms of like just having no way to stop him, nothing to overcome. Like it all happened in space of a few days. Like, meet me at the car park or whatever it was at this date at this time. I'm gonna kill you, and he did. Like, there was nothing prevented him from achieving what he wanted to achieve. And this is like a year later. So what was he doing for the whole time before, type of thing? But I think that was the idea. He just wanted to see these people, like the gangsters, suffer, and there shouldn't be a chance for them to have the upper hand because you know, they don't deserve to even think they were getting some sort of victory. And like I said, the way they all died. I mean, we've mentioned the feet cut off, but the guy who was in like the car, I forget his name, his driving buddy got shot in the head. His head was blown off. And
when he turns the wipers on, and
he put the wipers on.
I did chuckle at that. He's just sat on top of the car, like, the blood's on the inside. It's not going to help.
What does that say about us? That we could find things to laugh about in this book, you know?
You have to. You have to.
Yeah,
You're not going to get through this book. You won't get through it. Like the joke he tells when he's like, Jesus walks into a hotel and hands the guy 3 nails and says, "Can you put me up for the night?"
Yeah.
You know, you've got to laugh at these things.
I was going to say, I liked his sense of humour in the book. when he did tell a joke, I was like, "Oh, that's good."
I needed that because I was literally filling my bathtub up, getting a glass of wine and going to grab a load of pills. You know, you've just pulled me back from the edge.
Did anyone else read Eric? You know, I'm obviously thinking about the movie as well, where he was very quiet and calm when he was talking. Like, he was never kind of like excited or you know, he just kind of talked in a real calm manner, which obviously in a way would be unnerving to the gangsters as well, you know. And that's how I read it, and I thought that was really cool. I'm sure that was intended to be, of course, but I just thought that was really cool as well.
Yeah, he didn't raise his voice once, did he? He was just this calm. Like, he wouldn't even change what he was saying. Like, he was talking about one thing, and they'd be like trying to get him to acknowledge something that
he wouldn't.
doing, but he's still just going on because he has something to say, and it's his turn to talk now, and it's your turn to listen.
I like
thought that was really, really good. Should we hear what Scott has to say about the story?
Yeah.
Pay no attention to his lips. They won't be in sync because of my internet. Sorry.
Story, in a nutshell,
His lips is
this
best
was an avengeful murder spree built on a love story. And when it just, oh my god, so much happened. And, you know, it's a very creative way to make this story built on a love story. Very gruesome and dark and just brutal. I think that's the word I wanted to look for. But it's all very just, you know, at the start you don't really know what's happened and why Eric is doing all this. And then slowly, you know, it starts to get unveiled that his girlfriend was murdered and abused, and yeah, so you kind of start to understand and you start to become on his side why he's doing this. And I really enjoyed the pacing of that. This was a big book. This was a big story to read. This was only 5 issues, but it felt more like eight or nine. But even though it was big, I did enjoy. Well, I appreciated and I was thankful for the fact that they put little titles within the issues to kind of break up each issue to kind of have its own little mini chapters in each one. I guess I was appreciative of that, because otherwise I think I would have struggled to just flow with it, to just go with it in one go. The poetry, no, not many people really know this about me. I really enjoy poetry, especially when it's kind of dark stuff like this. So this was a very pleasant surprise. I enjoyed it, and I even found myself kind of reading some out loud, and just kind of just getting into the mood of them. So that was very good. I really like that. But again, like I said earlier on, I don't want to act like I'm smart enough to know what I'm talking about with this book, because I feel like it was just too big brain for me, you know.
Never.
The language in there, some of the language that Eric or the Crow was using was great, but sometimes I struggled to understand what was going on and why it was being said. I don't know if that was just me, lack of attention, or the fact that it was written in 1989. Because sometimes I struggle with that as well. Like if I watch films, the films that we see now, I notice compared to films 20, 30, 40 years ago that there's a lot more hand holding now in films, and back then you just had to go with it and figure it out for yourself, and that's kind of how I felt reading this. Nothing wrong with that.
Proper
It's
films.
just me. Yeah, but yeah, you know, I loved the story. It was awesome, and I loved the fact that, you know, we were following Eric go on this vengeful journey. But the thing that bothered me, and maybe it's because I'm too sensitive or too, I don't know, woke, is the fact that we had the murder and the abusive scene in the 4th issue of the story with Eric's girlfriend, and personally it was just too much. I don't think I'm going to score it less on that, because it's purely my opinion. I don't think it would be fair if I did that, just because I'm a bit squirmish. I don't know, but yeah, I don't want to end it on there. That bothered me a bit, but the rest of the story was awesome, and I also had a little bit of a soft spot for the cat.
Gabriel.
Is that him gone?
Is he finished?
I think I agree with him in terms of, you know, being not that the book was too clever, but it's up there with like a Neil Gaiman Sandman kind of book, really, in terms of, like I've told, but like I want to read it again so I can get a better understanding of the book, because it does seem like all the other extra stuff away from the main story adds another layer that maybe I didn't quite pick up on by flicking through it as quick as I did today. The poetry stuff, to be fair, like, I mean, I like poetry, but my poetry is usually fun and it rhymes, you know. Sometimes with this kind of deep, meaningful poetry, it kind of loses me a little bit. And even I couldn't think of certain kind of poem in the book that I remember, you know.
Phil, sorry, can you remove Scott from that stream for me, please?
What?
Can you? Is Scott still there? My screen is frozen.
No, he is not. It's just us three.
Yeah. Okay, my bad. I am experiencing a serious lag right now. Sorry about that.
I was just going to say, just pointing out the poetry, they're actually song lyrics from bands, half of them. So, like from The Cure and Joy Division, I think. So, like these, I guess they were considered goth groups back in the 80s. and that's where he got the. So he put in music that helped, like he was listening to as well at the time. So I think he wears his inspirations on his sleeve very much. So
Yeah, I definitely get the impression that James O'Barr, like, you know, this is obviously his way to kind of overcome everything, and it probably took years of say listening to certain music and really thinking about the words of the thing about the lyrics, and then putting it into the book. So these are probably all things that helped him, I suppose. Maybe like those songs, the ones he listened to kind of help him through the darkest of times. Yeah, but I mean, again, it's just one of those things that I read the poetry, but it's like I feel like I needed more time to soak it in a way.
I mean, anyone else surprised there wasn't like an Edgar Allan Poe reference?
yeah,
Like, no poems.
yeah, there was no knocking, was there? did he knock any time?
Yeah, with the Crow, you would have thought so, yeah, but maybe copyright he couldn't, you know, maybe they had to take it out for whatever reason.
Maybe he's like,
Maybe.
well, people will get confused between a raven and a crow.
But they're not the same.
Is there anything else for the story and the writing you want to hit upon?
Yeah,
before
like
we get to our final thoughts and scores.
The girl, what was her name? I get confused with Shelley and Sherry. What was the girl? What was
Sherry.
her?
Yeah.
Sherry. So,
Sherry.
again, she was in it very briefly, and I felt like the connection he had with her straight from the off, I get it, but like, I mean, maybe it's not the kind of story to build that relationship, but there was no building at all of that relationship. He obviously seen her through hard times. Her mum's a prostitute or whatever, and she's sitting there with no clothes on and does not know, she had no shoes on, things. So she's obviously in hard times, and he obviously connects straight away with her. But I felt like that was very quick, but at the same time, I wouldn't have wanted too much of interaction between them two either, because that would take away from the overall story, if you know what I mean. So it is weird that he included it as part of the story. Because I think if there was no girl and there was no cop with a note to say, "Go, she's in this apartment, go save her," type of thing, I don't think we would miss it. Like, if you know,
No, but I think he did need to save someone. I think it wasn't just about vengeance. He needed to save someone. Just one person he needed to save. I think that had to be in the book. Whether it be the young girl, whether it be a cop, it could have been any character, but he did have to save one person, just for I think for the writer's own sake. You know, he had to be able to save someone to say, look, he's not just a killer; he is a good guy. He's saving this young girl. So,
but even the cops, to be fair, like there was two cops. He just needed the one. The one was it Albright or whatever his name was.
Yeah.
But the other guy who was like the main detective or whatever,
Captain Hook.
Captain Hook, that's the one. Like, it's just, again, his inclusion is slightly odd. I don't think he added anything to the story, other than the fact that he was obviously there at the time of the murders. Or was it the first detective, or whatever, on the case? But he didn't really do anything else in the story. So
no, he was just there so that someone
thinking.
knew who Eric was. That was it. He was literally there so that someone knew that the Crow was this guy called Eric who was attacked a year ago.
Yeah,
I think that's what the film did better, because they kind of mixed those two characters together. I'm sure that there's only one cop in the film, isn't there?
I think so.
Yeah. So I
can't remember. I'm going to rewatch this tonight because I'm on the mood now to watch it. Well,
don't watch the sequels.
Yeah.
No.
But watch the TV show. The TV show was great in the 90s. Mark Dacascos is fantastic. So, are you ready for final thoughts and scores? Anyone in the chat, if you've read along, please share your scores for this book and we will add it to ours as always. Phil, are you okay to do the scores tonight, or do you need to do
it? I'm not prepared, but I can do it on my phone, I suppose.
Okay.
How do we work at averages again?
with our fingers and thumbs.
Yeah.
Kevin, since you're our guest, would you like to kick us off with your final thoughts and scores?
Yeah. I think this book is just a piece of art, and I think all good art. Again, I'm going to do my art student thing. If all good art makes you feel something, and if you didn't feel anything reading this book, I think you're probably dead inside. So for that though, because it had such an emotional response, and the artwork is stunning. Like I said, the writing is a bit childish. It's a weird story narrative, but yeah, I'm still going to give it an 8. It'll be an 8 out of 10 from me.
Awesome. Phil?
Similar to Kingdom Come in terms of I'm going to give this a reserved score because I want to read it again. I think it will score higher. It's a grim story. It's dark. It's traumatic, but I feel like it's something that I don't want to say you're better for reading it, but I think you are in terms of like knowing like this exists, this story, and Kev's right. It is a piece of art, literally. Like the story of the book together, the way it was combined or whatever and put together. Like it looks beautiful. It's a true story essentially. It's not a true story, but it's based on someone else's trauma. And him dealing with that, and you do feel that connection. I think, I suppose, with the writer more than just the character as well. It's a real deep meaning book, which I think's like I don't think we've read a book like this. It's no like Marvel's, what was that one, Unleashed or whatever? Can't remember what it was called. It's just it feels like a real story, like a real life thing we're reading here, and no, again, it's not enjoyment. It's not the right word, but whatever the word I'm searching for, it's the version of enjoyment. Like I like the story, I like to read it, and fully appreciate it. And I think again, being reserved, I want more time to think about it, so I'm going to go for a 7 because I want to score it higher, but I need to read it again.
Okay. Let's hear Scott's final thoughts and scores, and then I'll give mine. And if you're in the chat and you have read this book, please share your final thoughts and scores for this as well.
This kept my attention. The art was lovely. I've only read a few books in black and white, Kevin's being one of them. And yeah, this was great to look at. Even without it having any color, it just shows that sometimes you just don't need it. So I don't want to say anything else on the art apart from the fact that what I said earlier, about the mood of each panel being in a different style, and it just worked, and I just loved that. The story, there was a lot going on. On the face of it was just a man avenging his dead partner. But I felt like there was so much more beneath that, and I feel like I need another read or two of this. Because like I said, I don't think I'm smart enough for this book. I don't know what it was. It was just, when you listen to someone speak and you just know they're so intelligent, and you just can't help but listen to them and their stories and what they have to say and their ideas and whatever. This is what that felt like for me. This is just someone I could just listen to all the time, and especially when it got to the poetry, I was in. I enjoyed it. There's very little downfalls I have to this book. Really, really great pick, Kev. I'm looking forward to watching this whole show back to seeing what you thought and why you chose it. It's a very interesting pick, and I'm really glad you chose it, and I'm really glad you brought this to my attention. And thank you very much. I'll leave it there. Overall, my score, I think I'm going to give this an 8.5. It's definitely stood the test of time. It's maybe not apart from the hairstyles, but everything else. This book can be quite timeless. Really enjoyed it. Thank you very much, Kev. That's it. 8.5 from me. Thank you very much, everyone, and I will see you. I'll actually be there next week, so I'll see you next week. Can't wait to see you all. So, bye.
Yeah.
Have a good one.
Bye. So 8.5 from Scott. Wow. So just really quickly, my final thoughts and scores. I love the art in this book. I'm not normally a fan of black and white, if I'm honest. It put me off The Walking Dead. I think I read up to like issue 70 or 80 of The Walking Dead and then stopped because I think the art just kept putting me off. But I really enjoyed this. It was done really well. The shading, the shadows, the difference between his memories of his girlfriend and like what was happening in the streets. The tonal shift was just fantastic. It was just like this beautiful sketched penciling of her face, and it would only be like half her face, and it was just gorgeous. And the story just breaks your heart. There's no getting around it. If, like you said, if you're dead inside if you don't feel something when you read this book, because it will punch you in the gut many times. And I think that's what it was meant to do, because it was meant to make you feel just a fraction of what the writer was feeling at the time of writing this. And if that's what I felt just from reading this, I don't ever want to feel what he felt writing it. You know, it is a book I think everyone should read. I don't think, like you say, you don't enjoy this book, you get something from it. It's not enjoyment. It's more like fulfillment. Like you feel a little bit more whole inside when you read it and you realize I haven't been through that. And as horrible as that is, it does make you feel that, you know, and you can't get away from it. But overall, I really enjoyed it. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10.
Nice.
So let's see if anyone in the chat has read along and if they are scoring it. We have Connie, who says, I would give this book an 8. So nice. We seem to be on the same page, Phil and I. Sorry, no, Kevin and I, not Phil. Phil's gone Kingdom Come again, hasn't he? Peter Thornton says, I give this an 8. It takes you so deep into the sorrow the writer felt. The simplicity of the story and art made it hit so much harder. 100%. Yeah, it really does. If you haven't read it, you really should. Blue Sonic says, I just love this. I'm a big fan of the movie, so this was just amazing to read. After watching the movie so many times, I want this in a is that oversized hardcover?
Yeah.
8.5 from Blue Sonic. Wednesday's spoiler also gives it an 8.5, if only for the nostalgia alone. No, not just for the nostalgia, for the awesomeness of the book. So I think that's it from the herd.
Yeah, guys, I'm really slow doing the sum. So do we have an 8 from Kevin, an 8 from Connie, an 8 from Peter, an 8 from Blue Sonic, and or sorry, 8.5 from Blue Sonic, 8.5 from Wednesday? That gives an average of, that's wrong, it's not 34.2.
That's a total.
Give me an equals, come on.
Great.
Guys, right. That gives us an average of 8.2 from the herd and from Kev. So that plus my 7 plus Scott's 8.5. And Shane, what were you?
8.
Plus 8.
Thank you.
We're going to check these sums to double check, but I get a 7.9. 7.9. That's what I get.
7.9. Okay, let's see where that goes on the leaderboard.
We will check
Let's
this after.
We will double check. A 7.9. Wow.
Ooh.
4th place. Knocking Something Is Killing the Children off.
Nice.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
this does
didn't
deserve to be on the
expect it
top
to get
line.
as high a score as it has.
I think
Well, I mean, we don't know for definite that's the score. We'll have to verify that, but I'm
Tune in next week to
99.9%
learn the
certain.
true score. We will double check the scores for next week and we will show the leaderboard. So we will let you know if it is a 7.9 or if Phil's just faffed it and it's like a 4.2. We'll find out next week.
Are we allowed
Speaking
to
of
be
next-
like America storm the Nerd Herd headquarters?
Oh dear,
Recount,
the dark day history.
Speaking of next week, it's my pick next week, and we are reading we're reading The Wonderful Wizard of Oz from Marvel Comics, drawn by one of my favourites, Scotty Young.
Yeah,
So yeah, he's not writing this, so it's just his art this time. So Phil, you might like it a bit better than the I Hate Fairyland stuff.
Well, at least that was better than Pretty Violent, but sure, I digress.
just a little bit, but yes. So that's it. Thank you so much, Kevin, for picking The Crow for us and for joining us live. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And you got your swag, so you get to keep your notes in your Nerd Herd notebook, official swag. You're one of, what are we up to now, 5 or 6 people that have these? It's a very small group, so yes.
Exclusive.
You have a first print there.
Yeah.
But yes,
And everyone be sure to check out Kevin on Instagram. Is that your
Yeah, that's my Instagram there. Yeah.
at KWiz1988, because he is doing this thing at the minute. What's it called? The fan
Doing
art,
the
the 6.
6 fan arts challenge. I did your Venom today.
Yeah, it
I've
looks
got
so
2
cool.
more left. The slots are taken. But if anyone wants anything, like these are free. I'm not saying this isn't a commission or anything. It's just giving me something to draw so I can practice. So yeah, if anyone,
Awesome.
if you see it and you want a character drawn for this 6 fan arts, if I do it again, let me know and I'll carry on.
So that's at KWiz1988 on Instagram. Yes, definitely check him out. So there's nothing left for us to do but get your waves out and say we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye. Where's the outro? Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Love you.